Hello, and welcome to this brief discussion of recruitment for the CTN0152 TAB study. Potential participants will be primarily recruited from intakes at participating research sites and their affiliated clinics. An affiliated clinic is defined as 1. A single clinic co-housed at the research location, 2. One or more clinics elsewhere within the same organization, and/or 3 additional clinics outside of the organization with which the site's organization has an existing written agreement to share medical record information for mutual patients. In addition to internal recruitment, sites are encouraged to explore avenues for external recruitment efforts as well. You have been given several IRB-approved templates for items such as flyers, posters, rack cards, social media posts, and business card-sized ads. As long as the only thing that changes on them is adding the personalizing information indicated by the template, no further IRB approval is required. You will be able to use them right away. Finally, we are purchasing services from a research referral entity called Bill Clinical. Bill Clinical, now known as Open Clinica Recruit, is a group utilized by government research agencies and institutions to increase the number of referrals made to the study that are from people who are highly likely to be eligible. Using data mining and machine learning techniques, it targets the online platforms that are most frequented by the target population. The picture shows a draft of a social media ad that may be distributed once finalized and approved by the IRB. They will be utilizing video reels as well. Interested persons will be directed to the study landing page and will be offered the opportunity to complete a screening form. Data from those screening forms are then provided to the relevant sites through a dashboard that is set up for your unique site. Sites should plan on checking their dashboard at least once a day. We have contracted with this service for at least the first 11 months of the recruitment period. So, where do we find these guys? In recruiting, we must first ask ourselves where in the cascade of care does our target population occur? Depending upon the study participants may be found at all levels of the cascade of care, from prevention through remission. For CTN0152, we will be looking for persons who are initiating a new treatment episode for opioid use disorder with buprenorphine. Specifically, we are looking for persons who are within the first 80 days of taking their initial dose of buprenorphine during this new treatment episode. Now, a new treatment episode does not mean that the person has never been treated with buprenorphine before. Instead, we're defining new treatment episode as starting buprenorphine following at least 28 days without having previously prescribed buprenorphine on board. For sublingual, that means 28 days after the last strip or tablet was taken. For injectable buprenorphine, this will be 28 days after the effects of the last injection have worn off. So for weekly injections, that means 7 days plus 28. And for monthly injections, that means 28 days plus another 28 days. However, recovery is not linear. This is the real cascade of care. Oftentimes, beginning medications for OUD takes multiple attempts. So, we need to start thinking about all the different angles from which a person would access medication for opioid use disorder. We're meeting potential participants at the time of MOUD initiation, but how did they get there? We need to work backwards and think about how you would initiate treatment with buprenorphine for yourself. If you needed to start MOUD, who would you call? Where would you go? If one person doesn't answer, who else would you call? Once you get started on meds, what's your next step? What's your plan to maintain access to your meds for the next week, the next month, the next year? It's also important to consider why people initiate MOUD. What different ways might their reason impact their journey to initiate care? And while you're identifying all the routes to successfully initiating MOUD, it's also critical to imagine a barrier at each step and think about how those might be resolved. Every site in the TAB study has participated in previous CTN trials. Think about where you have been most successful recruiting participants in past studies, and how the unique needs of this study might need you to revise your recruitment plan. It's also important to think about how the cascade of care is leading them to your clinic or to the collaborating treatment providers in the community. A good way to frame your thoughts is to consider, in a perfect world, participants would or could find their way toward treatment by what? Consider community agencies and services, as well as healthcare and substance use treatment programs. We've had some questions about whether sites can recruit out of residential. In short, the answer is yes, but certain requirements apply. First, the person must be receiving care that is ASAM level 3.3 or lower. Level 3.3 is defined as clinically managed, population-specific, high-intensity care. It is designed for people who need structured support all or most of the day and is staffed by an interdisciplinary team. Typically, this level offers therapeutic and psychoeducational activities several hours per week at a slower pace, focusing on life skills, recovery support, and relapse prevention in a supportive setting. Often, residential treatment facilities offer multiple phases of treatment, and level 3.3 is usually a later phase of the participant's treatment stay. The person also must have the ability to leave the facility unaccompanied by staff. This may include leaving for work, volunteering, appointments, or weekend home visits. Although the person is receiving most of their care in residential, they must be receiving their MOUD services through an outpatient clinic in order to be eligible. And finally, they must be able to fully participate, which includes attending all study visits, but also being allowed to have the cell phone issued by the study and the Fitbit during their stay in the residential unit. Our participants will be facing barriers that will make initiating MOUD challenging. Accessing routine medical care is challenging enough, and they will be facing those same barriers when you approach them for a study. Think about how you will navigate around shame and stigma around OUD treatment, as well as potential legal consequences, logistics within agencies and treatment settings, and, particularly in rural locations, a sheer lack of providers willing to treat people with OUD. If you don't take away any other lessons from this presentation, please make sure you remember this one. Participants are not likely to seek you out to join the study, so sitting in your office waiting for them to come is not an option. There's a lot of misinformation and stigma around research these days, and when you add that to the stigma around OUD treatment with buprenorphine, it makes for a situation where study teams must be willing to step out of their comfort zone and really sell the study, both to potential participants and to the communities they live in. Make sure you are building relationships with your providers, agencies, and groups in your surrounding area, in addition to providing them with recruitment materials. Address any concerns they might have about research, and make it easy for them to refer. Consistent follow-up with potential referral sources is very important. Most people are very busy, and without a relationship, they are unlikely to have your study team in the front of their mind when a potential participant comes through. The lead team has provided a number of IRB-approved recruitment materials, but nothing beats a great referral relationship. Hooray! We found a participant. All our efforts paid off, and we have a potential participant sitting in front of us. Now, how do we successfully recruit them? We've sold the study to providers in the community. How do we sell the study to an actual participant? With participants, it's time to shift the tone. Less salesy. Learn what you can about the participant before approaching. Why are they coming to treatment? What motivated them to make the change? Have they had multiple treatment episodes in the past, or is this all pretty new to them? Is there a particular demographic they identify with that might influence their acceptance of research? Is there a trauma history to consider? Anything you can learn about them in advance will help you determine who approaches and the tone you set. Also, since they have likely had negative experiences with the healthcare system, let them know that research is different. We are going to spend more time with them than their providers can, and their success in research doesn't depend on their recovery. Let them know we will work with them to navigate potential barriers, and that we want to see them even if things aren't going well for them in treatment. Never give up on a potential participant. We've got 80 days. Lots can change in that time. And remember, recovery isn't linear. While we can't randomize until after day 7, we can begin screening prior to that, and then we have up to day 80 to get them randomized. So, if they initially say no early on, you might want to check in with them farther along to see if they have any questions about the research. We want to meet them where they're at. Accommodate consent, literally, physically, and emotionally. Listen, hear, present in a way that participants will appreciate that you trust them with all the nitty-gritty details of the study and will reciprocate in kind. Body language can help. Think about leaning forward, making eye contact, and not crossing your arms. Those can help convey that you are engaged and ready to listen to them. It's also important to convey respect for their expertise about themselves. One of the differences between clinical work and research is that in the clinic, the participant is coming in so you can help them. In research, the participant is coming so they can help you. Keep that difference in mind, and it can go a long way in helping you approach potential participants successfully. It's not just a saying. Words actually do matter. Set the tone for the conversation. Build rapport. The way you speak to a participant can really determine how they feel about the study and research in general. Here are some examples of phrases that can help participants feel welcome, cared for, and comfortable. A little razzle-dazzle, if you will. Think about what are your favorite one-liners with participants and how those can be used to communicate unconditional positive regard and to establish a good working relationship. As I mentioned earlier, it's important to understand the directionality of the research relationship. Our participants are collaborators, partners, and stakeholders. Without them, we have no research. It's really important to communicate that role to them and to acknowledge their autonomy and their altruism. By giving them a good research experience, we can help them find their voice and improve their healthcare experiences as well. Think about your past study participants. In what ways have you engaged participants in research that helped heal their relationship with healthcare? Why does all this matter? Well, once again, participants are part of the research team, and their involvement indicates their commitment to the success of the study. The more we can emphasize this, the greater buy-in that will come from the participant. Even before consent, start with their contribution to the study's success. Thank you for joining me for this brief discussion on recruitment. We are looking forward to having you as a partner in this study as well.